Hey there, friends. Just when I thought that I couldn't find enough virginity on Facebook, well, guess what? I find more virginity on Facebook. Now, I just happen to be perusing the magic only section of Facebook, looking for content, looking for things to show you guys and share with you, my PigCake community. And imagine my surprise when the very first post that I happen to look at is the one that happens to be the subject of this video. So we're going to be looking at this video by Mark Lavelle when he posted it on Facebook, and the video has nothing wrong with it. It's a very interesting take on the invisible deck. However, in the spectator's hand, if you know anything about the invisible deck routine, you know that it's a gimmick deck that you have to perform yourself because, well, the spectator is not going to be able to spread the cards in the way that you need for the trick to work. So Mark Lavelle has found a very interesting way of doing this where the participants are holding the cards in their own hand, which I think is very novel. It's interesting. Even if they can't do the entirety of the effect like you would with an invisible deck, it's still interesting because it's taking place in their hand. So here are the videos that he posted on Facebook just for the sake of completion.
Okay, so you're doing the trick. I want you to imagine the king of clubs coming out, turning it upside down and going back in the pack. You got it? Spread through the cards. Okay, close them back up again. Now you need to really imagine it happening. Okay, go through the cards nice and slowly and find that king of clubs. Alright, so in your imagination, you've shuffled the deck of cards.
Shuffled them.
Yeah, you've found what card do you want?
4 clubs.
4 clubs. Okay. Have a look through the deck real quick.
There's one that's face down.
And what did you do in your mind, Ryan?
Flicks them all the other way, I thought I did.
Have a look.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
So as you can see, the video is great. He gets good reactions. The effect is compelling. It's interesting because it takes place again in the participant's hand. So what's the problem? Well, the problem here was that he posted it on Facebook. That's the problem. Because then you are subject to the will and the opinion of the worst kind of creature on the planet, the magician. Here, the first comment happens to think that it's a force. Of course, Mark Lavelle says, no, it's 100% free selection, which makes it more compelling for magicians because now they're trying to get their noodles jogging. They're trying to figure out different ways to do this, as I am, because, again, the effect is interesting. And here's where we start getting a little bit dirty. Here's where we start getting into the nitty-gritty, the muck of the virginity with Jonathan Cam that says, need to show the rest. Nothing happened in this video. Of course, Mark responds accordingly, saying the rest, she spread through once, nothing, spread through again, and the named card was reversed. A very compelling effect. And of course, here we get to the back and forth of magicians trying to figure out the methods because they can never be satisfied with just looking at a video and taking it as what it is, which is a video. At the end of the day, the effect is what's presented to the audience, but that's not enough for them. They have to come here and they have to bitch and moan and go, wait a minute, hold up, what's this? You could have just handed her the pack. Well, that was the trick, right? Of course, Mark responds accordingly. So if she picked the king of clubs, you secretly turned over the king in the deck, then hand her to find it? Are you saying to do that instead of the deck? No, she named it. She named it. She didn't pick it. And then we have Hyo Shin Kim, which says, not sure if you're being deliberately obtuse, but clearly he's inquiring about what's happening in the beginning. The rest would imply coming up to the spectator, establishing the fact that you want to participate in the magic, and then handing them the cards. And here we go back and forth. Of course, Mark responds. Again, very based, Mark, very based with his responses. Hyo Kim would imply to me a control of the selected card or force in play, none of which happened here. I started recording as soon as the deck was handed over. That is correct. I should have stated earlier, I guess, but I wanted my hands free before reaching for the phone. Think casino dealer empty hands demo. Still, not 100%. Why turned it into a method guessing game? I posted this vid to show that you could do a stronger invisible deck routine with the deck already in play if you put the effort in. And no, she freely named any card, no force, no magician's choice. Everything is free. And of course, if you think that Jonathan Cam is only going to respond once, then you'd be mistaken because he has the time to do so. And here he says about the beauty of the invisible deck is that you don't even need a deck to begin with. You can't compare this to the invisible deck. What you're doing is reversing the card and then giving them the deck and then saying that it's in the invisible deck. You can't call this the invisible deck, is essentially what he's saying. Mark, of course, responds accordingly, talking about the downsides of a gaffed deck, which does have its merits. It does have its benefits over the invisible deck as originally done. That's not enough for Jonathan. That's not enough for him, because he has to really tout as to the invisible deck being one of the greatest tricks ever invented. You're making a bold statement. And here we also have our friend from the other thread, our best friend, Hyo Shin Kim, to also respond with what has to be the stretch of the century, my friends. He says, it's pretty ironic that you think the title of OP's post wasn't belittling thousands of magicians who actually do ID invisible deck. Why do invisible deck when you could get them to do invisible deck? Emoji. The ellipses, the unnecessary usage of the emoji, the sheer audacity to call the video invisible deck, the list goes on. The way he does clearly involve sleight of hand and the uses of dexterity. There are many people who are new or disabled who want to share the love and joy of sharing magic to the audience, but they cannot do the knuckle-busting moves that is required. So why not let the ones do invisible deck their way and not act like it's belittling to perform it using gaff cards? Again, why do invisible deck when you could get them to do invisible deck? God, every time I read that, the arrogance shown by the original poster is unnecessary, and by default, the lack of sympathy by him for those who have physical ailments and or obstacles so that they have no choice but to use the gaff deck is a real shame. The stretching, my friends, is astronomical here. I never thought that you could reach so far. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have physical ailments that impede you from holding a deck correctly, would you also be unable to perform the invisible deck? I think you'd have a hard time performing the invisible deck if you had nubs for arms, for example. So what is the point? What's the point of that post? I've read it multiple times and I'm still trying to understand what he's getting at. Of course, the method by Mark Lavelle involves some element of sleight of hand. It's impossible if it wouldn't involve some element of sleight of hand. But the invisible deck also involves handling. Careful handling at that. So what do you mean, Hyo Shin Kim, when you say that you are alienating people who are disabled and want to share the love and joy of sharing magic to the audience? And I'm glad that the responses here are equally juvenile in Aaron saying stop being offended on other people's behalf. Hyo says cool story, and then Aaron responds with okay boomer, which is a wonderful way to cap the ridiculousness of this post. I still think the best comment is on behalf of Pig Rodriguez saying so much virginity in the comments. Great trick, man. Haha. It's me. I think I know what I have to do in order to understand this post, and that is to stick my finger in a power socket so that I could turn myself to the intellectual level of understanding this post and going, yeah, that makes sense. Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comments section below, and maybe we could have a back and forth. I hope most of you guys agree with me in saying that this is a ridiculous comment thread. It's a good trick. Just take it as is. You don't have to pepper in your virginity and have to remind others that, hey guys, I'm better than you, because I'm thinking of those that can't perform this. By the way, peep the shirt here. Peep the shirt. I just spent $20 on it by accident, so I just want to make sure that I could use it here so I could write it off. But that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to always clean between the sheets.
When I see you again, 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 when I see you again.